Hello everyone, my name is Aastha. I welcome you all to our classes for International English Olympiad for class 7th. Today is our 19th class in the series and we will be doing the topic of sequencing. We will be understanding how sequencing really works and we will be doing so with the various examples as well as these various examples in the form of questions. We will be solving these questions which are based on the pattern of IEO. They will help you in your preparation because they give you an idea what sort of questions may be asked. Alright, let's get started.
So what we are going to do is, first of all, we'll understand what sentence sequence is and what it is really about. Then we'll look into how do we go about it, its various types. And then eventually we move to our section of the quiz. Okay, where we solve all these questions which have been provided as per the pattern of the IEO exam. Alright. So what is sentence sequencing? It is very easy. The manner of putting sentences in a coherent order. What does a coherent order means? It means basically putting these sentences which are given to you in a logical sequence. Like when you read them by 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever these sentences are, you read them one after the other. They make sense. They are connected to each other. And you don't really have to force yourself to understand the logic and the sequence because the sequence is correct and it makes sense to you automatically. Alright, so sentence sequencing is you will be given sentences in an illogical manner in a not okay sequence and you will have to put them in the right sequence so that they make sense to you and they are what do I say? You don't really have to force yourself in understanding it. The understanding comes naturally. Alright. So here we have the various types of sequencing. Like one is this chronological sequencing in which the things are explained which happen one after the other. Like first, next, second, third, last, in the first place, etc. We've given more examples like we use to start with, to begin with, for a start, like first of all, like then we use sometimes like at first and then throughout, in the end. We also use words like firstly, secondly, so on and so forth, lastly, then initially, then previously, subsequently, eventually, next, before this, afterwards, after this, after that, then. So this is like explaining what happens one after the other. This is a chronological sequence. Alright. Okay, so another one we have is spatial sequencing. This is actually talks about certain directional or relationship order. Here are these certain examples of words which we use to connect them, like next to, beside, alongside, opposite to, aside, side by side, with, in front of, before, in back of, behind, after, under something, underneath something, below something, beneath something, over, overhead, on the right or onto the left, at the beginning or at the start when we talk about a certain origin, then at the end or to finish, like we talk about a certain destination. Okay. So here we have another type of sequencing which is emphatic sequencing, which can be like which is like sequencing from say easy to most difficult, from obvious to subtle, from least important to most important, from simple to complex, from known to unknown, from ordinary to special. This is sort of emphatic sequence. What are the examples of various connecting words we use for these? Like an important aspect is this, more important is that, one of the most important thing is this, however the most important thing is that, a concern, a greater concern, an even greater concern, the greatest concern. So you see, this is how various concerns can be listed out from the least important to the greatest, to the most important one. Like basically, ultimately, even more so, to make matters worse or better. Okay, so this is a sort of emphatic sequencing. Alright, so okay, so what now we will be starting off with the quiz. The questions, we will be given a sort of jumbled up sentences. Okay, we'll have to understand the sequence and also form, once we form a logical sequence, there might be subsequent questions given for that particular passage formed in the form of questions which are like similar to the ones we have in reading comprehension, which you get in reading comprehension in English in your school as well. So those sort of questions. All right, let's start and you will get an idea as we do the questions. All right, so for the quiz, what we will be doing is, now every question you will be given 1 minute. 1 minute means 60 seconds. Why am I giving you 1 minute? Because you see, your question paper of IEO, it has about 50 questions, and so you can imagine that you get more or less a minute to answer the questions. Now this 1 minute is the maximum that you should be taking for answering the question. Now suppose there could be two, three categories of students. First category, suppose you answer the question within that 1 minute. So I would request you to fast forward the video and skip right to the answer. You should not be wasting your time. Alright. Now the other students who are not able to answer the question in 1 minute, what you do, you don't skip to the answer. You pause the video and you write down your answer. Alright, it is very important to answer each and every question because there is no negative marking. Here you see, for every incorrect answer, no points, because there is no negative marking in IEO. So it is important that you attempt all the questions. Now for a question of which you are not sure about the answer, now even here and even in the exam, if you are not sure about the answer and you maybe think that B option might be correct or C option might be correct, so you should in that case play your luck and play your mind and make a guess and still give an answer, because it is a win-win situation. Either you will get the marks for that question or you will get a 0, right? But if you don't attempt that question at all, then you are anyway getting a 0 in that, right? So it is good to attempt those questions, and even if you don't know all the answers, try to understand and take a guess. Okay, so this is for every correct answer 10 points. This is just for your own little game where you can try to maintain a notepad. So here you write the name of the chapter and then the question, and then if it is correct you can give yourself 10 points. If it is not correct, you mark it here. So it is important to see these questions, the ones which you mark incorrect. It is important to go back to them later and then see where you did the mistake. Alright, this is just for your reference. For every correct answer you can give yourself 10 points. Alright, now let's start. Okay, so first of all, I put in the slide so that first you can just go through the questions. It says read the following sentences and answer the questions that follow. So these are just random sentences given to you. They are not in a particular order. Let's just read them once. A hunter, however, comes to the rescue and cuts the wolf open. Immediately, Little Red Riding Hood and her grandmother emerge unharmed. Okay. Then B. This tale is about a little girl. Is about a girl called Little Red Riding Hood. She always wears the red hooded cape. Every day, the girl walks through the woods to deliver food to her grandmother. Okay. This is one sentence. One part of the passage we can say. See, one day a wolf approaches the girl and she naively tells him where she is going. Okay, now another sentence. In the meantime, the wolf goes to the grandmother's house and eats her. When the girl arrives, he eats her too. Now, another sentence, last one, E. He suggests the girl to pick some flowers for her grandmother who was keeping unwell. She does so. Okay, so here these were the few sentences. This is not a passage because it is not in order. Now let's see the questions. How will the questions come? Okay, so now we have to form a logical order. Put them in a logical order to form a meaningful story. Okay, so first of all, where was the introduction of the story? Here in B. This tale is about a little girl called Little Red Riding Hood. Right? So we first write B. Then when is the incident explained? The incident starts over here in C. That one day a wolf approaches the girl and she naively tells him where she is going. Then what happens? Here, E. He suggests the girl to pick some flowers for her grandmother who was keeping unwell. She does so. Okay, then happens D. That in the meantime, the wolf goes to the grandmother's house and eats her. When the girl arrives, he eats her too. Okay, and then the climax happens in A. That a hunter, however, comes to the rescue and cuts the wolf open. Immediately, Little Red Riding Hood and her grandmother emerge unharmed. Okay, so accordingly, the correct answer is here, B. Right? Okay, so what is the moral of the story accordingly? Always meet your grandmother in the forest. Or B, never listen to strangers. Or C, never be friends with the wolf. Or D, never tell the truth. So here Accordingly, the correct moral of the story is B. Never listen to strangers. Okay, here what we have to do, we have to read the sentences and arrange them in a logical order. Let's see. His relatives lives in London, but they're coming for the wedding. All of Sakshi's family live right here in Mumbai. The wedding ceremony is scheduled to take place in Udaipur. You read the sentence and you realize this cannot really be the introduction because it seems abrupt. Then we see she is going to marry Sachin Sharma who lives in the USA. Okay, here it starts with she. Okay, we don't have any name, we don't know who is she. This also cannot be the starting. Then after marriage, Sakshi would be traveling to the USA where she has already taken a job. Where she already has a job, sorry. Again you see after marriage. After marriage. So this is a sentence which will be which will follow another sentence because we're talking about after something happens, after marriage. Okay, then we have Sakshi Mittal is getting married in June. Here we have the introductory sentence. So our passage starts with D. Sakshi Mittal is getting married in June. Okay. Then we can connect it here with B. That she is going to marry Sachin Sharma who lives in the USA. Let me use another one here. D, B, and then his relatives live in London, which means A, and then C, because it talks about after marriage. So after marriage, Sakshi would be traveling to the USA where she already has a job. So D, B, A, C. Accordingly, the answer correct is A. Alright, now we have her dance performances are like fairy tales and she moves like a fairy. Her, again, we don't know who her is. This cannot be the starting of a sentence. Starting of the passage. In these fairy tales, she tells about legends from the stories of ancient India. In these fairy tales, which fairy tales? You'll see. My dance teacher is an Indian classical dancer. Okay, here we start off with the subject. Maybe this can be the introductory line. Let's see. Next one. She was born in England, but as a dancer, she learnt a technique in Northeast India from a famous Master. Okay, so accordingly the correct answer, which means the first sentence should be C. My dance teacher is an Indian classical dancer, and then we introduce about her like she was born in England, but as a dancer she learned her technique in the Northeast India from a famous master. Here we explain about her. Then her dance performances are like fairy tales, and she moves like a fairy. A. Then B. So C, D, A, B. Accordingly, the correct answer is A. Okay, here we have that man got the job. Along the corridor, he picked up a piece of paper and threw it in the dustbin. A man attended an interview for a job. The interviewer passed by and saw it. Okay, so where is the subject? Here. A man attended an interview for a job. C. Okay. What happened? Along the corridor, he picked up a piece of paper and threw it in the dustbin. And what happened to that? D. The interviewer passed by and saw it. Eventually, the climax, that man got the job. C, B, D, A. Correct answer is A. Alright, now here I had 2 eggs, a piece of toast, a glass of orange juice. I woke up one morning to a beautiful sunrise. I was very hungry that morning, so I headed for the breakfast table. After breakfast, I ran to the bus stop for another glorious day of school. So here again you see how chronologically things are happening. First, I woke up in the morning to a beautiful sunrise. Then I was very hungry that morning, so I headed for the breakfast table. So then at the breakfast, what did this person have? I had 2 eggs, a piece of toast and a glass of orange juice. And then we have after breakfast, I ran to the bus stop for another glorious day of school. B, C, A, D. The answer is B. Alright, now next. People who live in the city do not have to worry about wells or springs. The city supplies them with water. For them, water may come from a spring, a well, or underground water connection. But in villages, especially for farmers, obtaining water supply may be quite a problem. Okay, so here we begin with the people who live in the cities do not have to worry about wells or springs. The city supplies them with water, but in villages, especially for farmers, obtaining water supply may be quite a problem. For them, the water may come from where? A spring, a well, or underground water connection. So the correct order is A, B, D, C. Here, B. Okay, so here we have another one. This one says, this process also reduces the amount of water going into landfills. Okay, for making this work, we put used material in a landfill. It is developed and made into new items. Okay, see, lastly, as a result, it also helps to bring prices down on items that are made from using recycled waste. And recycling is the term used to describe an alternative form of getting rid of used materials. So here you see we start with D because it is giving the introduction of recycling. Then we talk about how this process works. And then in A we talk about how this process is advantageous, and C lastly what happens. So D, B, A, C. Correct answer is D. Alright, so what do we have to do here? Read the following snippets and answer the questions that follow. We're given a snippet, a small part, then we have to answer the question according to it. Let's see. In a writing career that spanned more than half a century, Agatha Christie wrote 79 novels and short story collections. What is the meaning of the word spanned? Spin over, triviality, extended over, or consequence? It's pretty easy. The answer is C, extended over. In a writing career that spanned more than half a century, which means her writing career was about more than half a century. So it extended over to like more than half a century. All right. Okay, here in 1961, the earth tremors began to disturb the islanders. Then a volcanic eruption forced the evacuation of the entire population. They were housed at a camp near Southampton. What is the meaning of the word evacuation as used in the above snippet? A volcanic eruption forced the evacuation of the entire human population. So here, voyage, mass departure, trek or expedition. Now here, evacuation of the entire population. So we can also guess that here the meaning is mass departure. Of whom? The entire population, and they were then housed at this camp near Southampton. Alright, it was not a fun voyage or trek or expedition. It was a mass departure. Right. Okay, here. The Times has had an excellent reputation for over 200 years, said its editor, who had been working for the paper since 1980. And now we're trying to our best to continue that tradition in order to produce a newspaper for the 21st century. What is the meaning of the word tradition as used in the above snippet? Convention, innovation, modernization or advancement. Here, when we are using tradition in here, what is it? We are trying to continue the tradition. So it means convention, innovation, modernization, advancement. It means convention, which means we are trying to continue that certain practice or convention. Others, innovation, modernization, advancement means sort of an improvement over the existing structure. Okay, here, I don't always agree with the opinion stated on the editorial page, but it's good to know how other people feel about items in the news. What is the meaning of the word opinion as used in the above snippet? Opinion. Opinion stated on the editorial page. Opinion is significance or importance of view, belief or outcome. Opinion refers to the views or beliefs of people. Okay? Alright, here we have the joy of our daughter looking through the window to see the familiar surroundings covered with a blanket of untouched white snow was so exciting that we couldn't resist the temptation to take the journey north into the mountains. What if the following words is not similar in meaning to temptation? Not similar. Enticement, limitation, appeal, or inducement. Here the correct answer is B, limitation. Limitation is not similar to in meaning to temptation. Okay, here Jane from Manchester has been taking in foster pets for more than 4 years, having been among the first to sign up when Paws for Kids started in March 1999. What is the meaning of foster in the phrase foster pets? Harm, discourage, nurture, or block. Now fostering someone means nurturing them. Okay, foster pets means nurturing those pets. All right. Okay, here we have most Europeans live in small villages. They grow their own food and barter with others. As well as keeping animals, they grow small crops of wheat, rye and vegetables. Milk from dairy cows is a vital part of the diet. This milk is also used to make butter and cheese. So which of the following words can replace the word barter used above without changing the meaning of the text? Traverse, keep, persuade or exchange. Where we have barter here. Barter with others. The meaning of barter is actually exchanging. Okay, exchanging something without the use of money. Like I give you rice, you give me wheat, or you give me say a pair of shoes. That's a barter system. Okay, so the word is exchange. Right. So with this we finish off with all our questions on sentence sequencing, and this part of snippets was also there where a certain passage is given and you have to extract certain words and figure out their meaning, and these kind of the pretty easy questions. These are like on the spot questions which there will be a different passage, different snippet, and you will have to solve it accordingly. Alright. Alright. So
that's all for our class on sequencing. I hope you have understood the basic premises, how we're going to solve these questions. If you made any mistake in any of the questions that we discussed, make sure you rectify them so that you don't repeat those mistakes. Alright, so keep learning and keep revising. I'll see you the next time. Thank you for watching.